Greg and Richard right here on Talking Red.
Hello and welcome to Talking Reds, a Nottingham Forest podcast. I'm Greg Oram and I'm with my podcast partner Richard Spray, and we are here to bring you our review of the trip to Everton that took place yesterday. At time of recording, it's 2:00 in the afternoon here in the UK on a Sunday. No intro written. We decided that it was such a shit show of a performance, and we really didn't feel like we had it in us to sit for an hour and chew the fat about it backwards and forwards. So Richard and I are going to give you what we thought of the Everton game briefly, and then we've got some of our Talking Reds regulars that are going to pop up on screen for those that are watching this. And of course, if you're listening, you'll hear them. I've asked them to do some reviews to camera to themselves, and we'll let you hear what they've had to think about it and what they've got to say about it. And then I think we'll probably close it from there. This should probably take 25 minutes, I reckon. We won't keep rambling on about it, but it was just such a poor, disappointing performance after a game in the midweek against Wolves where you go away from home and you get the 1-0 win, albeit very scrappy second half. And you go to Everton in their shiny brand new stadium, Richard, and you hope that, you know, we can come away with at least a point because, you know, win your home games, grab a point on the road if you can. You know, the good work against Liverpool and Wolves was there to see. So it was just really disappointing, wasn't it? What did you make of it all? Give us your summations, Mr. Spray.
Yeah, I mean, disappointing is the only adjective you could probably use, but I would say it's just look fatigued. They look fatigued mentally. They look fatigued physically. I think there was elements or pieces of the match where you could say, all right, they sort of looked normalized. It looked like Forest, like they looked like they were moving the ball. They were moving off the ball. They were trying to find ways to break through the lines against Everton. But yeah, from minute one, it just seemed like, I wouldn't say complacency, but just sort of like not the same fire and energy that we probably have wanted to see. And you sort of saw traces of that in the Wolves match. It was an incredibly physical match. This was physical as well, which we anticipated because that's how Moyes and how Dyche operate. So it wasn't a shock in that sense. But yeah, I was from the way the first goal unfolded to the point of which the end of the first half unfolded, when we seemed to have some momentum. We seemed like we were getting into the match, the flow of everything, and then it just sort of dissipated immediately. And then the second half just really didn't offer much at all. So the stats would tell you, there was quite a bit of opportunity we had from a possession standpoint to try to do something, but it never materialized. Yeah, I don't even know what else to say about it. It's just like one of those ones where you just never, ever want to watch another highlight of it again. Like if you can avoid it, that's what you're going to do. So, yeah, and it was sad because once again, the guy who kind of comes to the surface as being the one who's the most consistent is Elliot Anderson. He was everywhere. He was picking up balls. He was trying to get things moving. You had Morgan Gibbs-White playing in second gear through the entire match, not completing passes. I think his passing accuracy was like 72%. I mean, it was just not the kind of performance you would anticipate from us, even on a quote unquote bad day. I think holistically, we just weren't with it.
Yeah, I think that's an understatement. It had a knock-on effect to us because he kind of sapped the juice out of all of us. No intro, no energy. I mean, I hope if you're watching and listening along, you'll stick with us because we promise that we'll keep it brief. But I'll just quickly chip in before I bring the video boys in. Milenkovic, miles off it. Dan Ndoye, terrible. Morgan Gibbs-White, the worst I've seen him play for Nottingham Forest. Just did not get going. I mean, I'm not even sure why Dan Ndoye was on the pitch. I thought he was terrible against Wolves. He went with the same team again. Dyche has shown that that's his preferred option to go again with the same team when they win. And I'm questioning that because I still think there's a horses for course element that must come into play. I know that he's hampered a bit with injuries. No, say a bit. He's hampered hugely with injuries. Still no Murillo. So Morato plays. I'd like to see Jay Cunha get a start. I really would. I think he's got a lot to offer. Great to see Zach Abbott coming off the bench. In amongst a bad day, it's always positive when a young academy prospect gets some minutes in the Premier League. I think it was his EPL debut as well. Hutchinson tried, but his fizz wasn't really evident. We never got going. It was a really bad start. The ref decided to give a yellow card within 30 seconds which I thought was bizarre because I thought, yeah, okay, it was a tackle, but I don't think it was a yellow card. And then Milenkovic, I don't know what he was doing for the goal, but it felt like there was no need for it to be glancing for 1-0 down. It took us ages to try and get into the game. And then the half closes out, and I don't even know what happened because when we were watching it, it broke from showing repeats of something that had just taken place to all of a sudden Milenkovic having 5 people around him nearly. And then, the geezer slots it in the goal, 2-0 down. We were never getting back into it, even with the changes at half time. It was just a really poor performance, and 3-0 probably, I suppose, on the day is about right, really, because, Dewsbury Hall had a pretty good game, I suppose, for them, you'd say. So, look, it's really disappointing from a Forest point of view, but let's not get too beaten up about it. We've got a lot of games coming and we need to get important players back on the pitch. So before I bring the video boys in again, Richard, anything else you want to add on the game that you've left out that's just come to mind before we bring the boys in?
Yeah, the weird thing is, if you buy into the XG model, then it would have been at worst a 1-0 win for Everton, right? The way the match unfolded, and as you touched on, Kieran Dewsbury Hall was good, but it wasn't like he was spectacular. I think there was definitely opportunities for us to find our footing, but for whatever reason, just the entirety of that match, they didn't play that spectacularly. So it's just isolated moments that completely sunk us, and then it just didn't allow us to gain any confidence through the entirety of it and find a way to sort of string passes together. Once again, we looked sloppy in possession. We looked sloppy trying to thread balls through to try to find again those moments, those channels to break through, and it just never materialized. And then you compound it with Yates coming on, and it kind of felt like we got a little bit of energy, a little bit of jolt there from him coming on, because we know what he can do vocally and from a leadership standpoint, and his ability to compete in the air for balls as well, which Sangare isn't spectacular at. And so it was unfortunate because it looks like we've got another hamstring injury on our hands, and you're taking away while he's more of a backup. He plays almost in a second string way. The reality is what he offers when he does come on is important, and he can have some very effective passages of play that really, I think, lift the team, and we're not going to see that potentially. We'll see what I know Deitch mentioned afterwards. They need to do a scan. They need to get the totality of that injury figured out. But man, that's such a disappointment too. But again, I think could it be questioned? Dan sent me a message and he said, we're seeing another hamstring injury. Could we potentially be seeing another issue where you push them too hard and you're giving them you're creating this desire to have fitness, but then it's simultaneously you're creating potential an increase in injury. So that's something to be monitoring, I think, and to be concerned about.
He did look like he overstretched. So maybe there's something in that. Sangare going off to AFCON is something we also need to think about. So Yates out for maybe 6 weeks at least, could be longer. That centre midfield, all of a sudden you've got Anderson, you've got Dominguez in there. And so, that's something we need to consider maybe with the window coming up. Who knows what's going to happen? All right. Well, look, it was a load of guff yesterday. What I would quickly say for everyone listening and watching, the shirt giveaway competition is now ended. I said it would finish at the full-time whistle. So yesterday when the whistle blew, that was the end of the competition. So no more entries in. We will be revealing the winner probably on Tuesday when we do the preview for Utrecht. So we'll get everybody's name into the Wheel of Fortune, and we'll do it live, and the winner will be revealed. And there will be a prize also, a second place prize, which will be a nice cheese hamper. So all courtesy of Stu Freestone, the cheese trader. Okay. So you've heard from Richard, you've heard from myself. It was really, really bad. There's a few of our guys now coming up with what they thought, and we'll start with Raf, the random pundit.
Hey team, it's Raf here. Right, just a long day check-in, and I left at 8 o'clock this morning to go up to the game and to have a look at the stadium, which is absolutely amazing up there, and to get a preview of maybe what we're actually going to get. But I'm literally back home now, literally straight back down, and it is 11 p.m. So to say the fact that I am horribly disappointed with this team and just literally is just, I do get it. They're tired, They've had 5 games in 15 days. They would be knackered, but there's still no excuse for some of the stuff that we're seeing on the pitch today. I'm not going to be too harsh on them, but I am just, it's when, as a parent tells you as a kid, they're not angry, they're just very disappointed in you. And that is exactly how I feel about our team. And I've jotted a few things down through the game. And these are the things that I was just observing to give you a kind of flavour. Right, okay. So a number of times we actually won the ball back and we had a counter break on, kind of 3-on-3 pretty instantly. And players just, whoever it was, with Jesus trying to break the line and get in behind, just dawdling on the ball and not putting, like we did last season, the whole time, crisp, ball straight through, one-on-one with the keeper. Weren't even doing that whatsoever for the chances that we did have. Right. And then what just epitomised Morgan Gibbs-White, right? You get a chance in the box, ball's floated over to you. You can see everyone in the box in front of you. You can see how much time you have. You have time to control the ball and then shoot, probably doubling the chances of the goal actually going in. So again, it's just not doing these basic things correctly. Callum comes on second half, right? Lots of industry, trying really hard, running with the ball, but super rusty, just running into people, not getting rid of it and just running out of road and losing possession. Can see his keenness, but not very helpful. But the other thing that's really annoying me, he's up against Jake O'Brien, right? He is a centre back, not a full back. He has him one-on-one over again, right? Time and time again, never tries to beat him on the outside. Could say the same with Hutch, really not trying to take on his man as much as possible. At least Hutch showed some amazing touches getting out of situations. He did give the ball away quite a lot though. But yeah, absolutely, from the pair of them, just stopping and passing inside or passing backwards, it's just not acceptable at all. It's not what Dyche has said, which is get crosses in the box the entire time. So they're not even doing what Dyche is telling them to do. And again, Morgan just gives the ball away time and time again. Then he starts resorting to his turns and everything else as well. And that doesn't really work out. And I'm sorry, but how you get out-muscled by Dewsbury Hall, of all people, in the middle of the park, again, unacceptable. But it just showed a whole thing of us lacking. And we didn't win any duels. We didn't win any second balls, really, the whole day. And I know Everton are not playing 2 games a week like we are. But the desire and the fight and the mental acuity to know where the ball is going and wanting to get there just wasn't there today whatsoever. And it's just Domi comes on, right? Dominguez. And even he's giving the ball away, and he's usually the best with the ball and keeping hold of it, right? So even that's really bad. He was very unlucky not to score Tarkowski's block off the line, and that might have actually pivoted the whole game and changed it at that moment. So that's actually quite annoying. And actually listening to 4 hours worth of Everton podcasts with my mate on the way back home, because he's an Everton fan, driving back down, they were kind of saying exactly the same thing. Super disappointed in Forest. Couldn't believe how badly we played with the talent that we have. Morgan Gibbs-White, they can't understand why he's anywhere near England, and so disappointing for the talent that he has. And yeah, it's just absolutely awful. But if that goal had gone in, they were very scared that the game might have changed around. And just like doing the basics. Morgan Gibbs-White and Jesus jumping for the long ball together, which happened like a couple of times, certainly noticed it more at the end. If they win that ball, who's getting the flick on? There's just no organisation and basics that are being done at all. But it's epitomised by 2 things right at the end, right? 2 things. The first thing is, that I saw was their final goal was ball comes out, shot from the edge of the box. It goes through at least 2 of our defenders that are right next to the ball. They can see the ball. They're facing the ball as it comes to them. And there is no effort or urgency whatsoever to try and block that ball. None whatsoever. The second is pretty much the last kick of the game. Cullen Hudson-Odoi over a set piece, over a free kick, and it goes into like Rose Ed. And I think those 2 things just epitomised all of our problems today, with just nothing connecting, not winning duels, passing not being there, passes and runs not being coordinated or anything at all. We're not at the races. What worries me is we've got Utrecht on, we have to go away on Thursday for that. And then we've got another game on Sunday at home against Spurs. And if the players are knackered, just give them 2 days off. Like, something's got to be done, but they've got to get the level of energy and urgency back. Sorry, I'm a bit of a downer. This is not usually me, but I've literally been away from 8 in the morning, only got back at 11 at night. So I'm pretty raw. I will try and get my vibes and my positivity back. I'll sleep on it and hopefully be more positive by the time we do another preview. All right. Thanks a lot and good night all.
Raf feeling like pretty much all of us. He went up to Liverpool for the game, and it's a long way to go and get back to London, especially when you see a performance like that. So thanks very much to Raf. Next up, let's hear from one of our Nottingham Forest fans living over in America. This is a good friend of ours, Jamie Tatler.
Yeah, so that was pretty bad, wasn't it? I also didn't think Everton were that good. We made it very easy for them, didn't have to play particularly well to beat us soundly there. But I would say that Dyche got team selection wrong from the start, and it's probably the first time I've really thought that, I think. You know, in the lead up there was talk of do we stick with Ndoye despite his really poor recent performances, because he can put a shift in out wide and maybe help Savona by doubling up on that threat of Grealish and their left back down that side of the pitch. So then he starts Ndoye, but then leaves him on our left instead. So Savona is still exposed on our right. That's where the first goal comes from. Ndoye offers absolutely nothing up against a makeshift centre-back playing right-back on their side. And I think when Dyche switched them, Ndoye and Hutchinson, mid-first half, that's an acknowledgement that he got that part wrong, I think. You know, if you drop Ndoye, and that gives you so many more options to maybe either play Dominguez out wide if you want him to do a job on someone and help defensively, or play Gibbs White out wide, which you've seen in the Europa League, so that you can put a Yates or a Dominguez back in the middle of the field and make us more competitive on the second ball, which we were terrible at all game. You know, you don't do a triple substitution at half time if you've got your setup correct. So unfortunately, yeah, the players weren't at it, but I also feel like Dyche takes some blame for this one, and it is the first time I've said that. I've been really happy with him, really pleased with the work we've done and the progress we've made, but from the start, the team selection was all wrong, and it just went from bad to worse.
So Jamie not happy like the rest of us, and to make us all feel even worse, those that could see the camera could see that Jamie was sat in the nice sunshine of Orlando, Florida, with his beautiful swimming pool behind him, with his lovely glasses on. He looked like $1 million, Richard, didn't he? It makes me feel even worse.
Absolutely, yeah. But he made a really good point, and I think it's interesting as you start to see all these videos unfold. And I know this is an easy thing to just kind of throw out there and be like, "Oh, this is the reason," but the difference in terms of time to recover. Paul Morley with his amazing way of tracking that. The fact that they weren't getting to second balls, tired, not as mentally acute, not engaging as quickly. The fact that Milenkovic didn't make much of an effort to really, defend, frankly, a ball that should have been easily deflected away or blocked or, put out at least, right? The fact that there was nobody to get back really to get that second goal. The fact that nobody made an effort to try to even stop the third goal. I just think it's all about the fact that they've just been run into the ground through the volume of matches, plus how the manager is approaching that, I think, is not necessarily helping the situation either. But yeah, it's a great point by him on the second balls, because I've seen that a lot. That was happening a lot against Wolves too. Anything that ricocheted, anything that kind of like deflected away, Wolves were right on it, right? We were slow to diagnose and get to it. So great point by him.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, here comes Ross, another one of our Forest fans living over in Austin, Texas. I think it's Austin, Texas, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, he's in Austin, Texas. This was literally within an hour of the match finishing.
Ross here in Texas. A couple of quick reflections after the Everton game. I think we'll be looking for all sorts of derivatives of fugly. That was particularly ugly and one to forget about and move on from. Right from the start, 30 seconds in, you get in a yellow card. When has that ever happened? Really? It wasn't that bad. Give him a word, move on. Really meant that we were just on the back foot from the get-go. And to concede so early with an own goal, it's so critical that we start tight, get ourselves into a game and build from there. And that just didn't happen. So what came after that was obviously disappointing, but it was more because we just lacked any real creativity. I don't want to call out particular players, but we know that there's some who probably need some rotation and some that need to get a little bit sharper when it comes to actually giving us a little bit more incisiveness up the field. Can't wait for a couple of key returns, Murillo especially, Wood especially. You know, we really need a little bit more energy and hopefully a little bounce that comes out of the Euro game so we get a little bit more confidence going forward. But I didn't believe my sporting weekend would get worse after watching the World Cup draw and the England collapse overnight. So Forest held my beer, or held their beer, and really went to a whole new low. So best we forget and move on and hope we bounce back stronger. Thanks, guys. See you soon.
Yeah, I mean, that was within an hour of the game finishing. Football just ruins everything when we lose. It just ruins everything, Richard Spray. Yeah, feeling quite miserable. Let's go straight to the next one. And Steve Battlemuch was at the game. And these are his thoughts, slept on it thoughts, actually, because he sent this video over just a couple of hours ago or so. So here comes Steve Battlemuch.
Well, here's my quick take on Everton away. New ground, nice place, better view than Goodison, a bit soulless, but that's what they've paid for. But we were never at the races from 20 seconds in when we got that booking, which wasn't a booking, was it? Let's be clear. They get a goal within a minute. We just didn't look at the races at all. Nothing going forward. Losing the ball a lot in midfield. Even people like Anderson, Nico, Gibbs White, they were losing 50-50 battles. They were giving the ball away. We're asking a lot of Jesus at the moment. He's playing up front on his own. He's playing most minutes of every game. He's not getting any rest. But I think the crux for me, for the past few games, we've lost 2 out of 3, is Murillo. Murillo makes such a massive difference, not just at the back in terms of solidity at the back, but also going forward in terms of picking out those balls, those passes from the back. And I think the sooner we get Murillo back, the sooner we'll be in a lot better place. But, you know, let's not get too downhearted. We're in the Europa League for the first time in 30 years. A couple of wins in that competition and we'll be challenging for the top 8 or a decent playoff match. We've got to keep an eye on the teams around us. Leeds got that draw again. They seem to be on a bit of an uptick. But we are still, you know, challenging in the Premier League and in the Europa League. And if anybody had said that a few years ago, they'd have been laughed out of court, wouldn't they? So we've got exciting times potentially with the stadium development. We're going to have people coming back from injury. We've got to, haven't we, at some point? We're going to get people back fit and on the pitch. Let's have that competition for places. Let's forget about Everton. It was a dirty, horrible game. You know, the Everton team are just big and ugly and kick people off the ball. That's what they do. And we couldn't compete with it. And let's forget about the game, in my opinion, quickly. Get on to Utrecht. But let's see a whole lot better performance against Tottenham. And let's get Murillo back in that back four as quickly as possible. That's my take on Everton away.
Howdy from a cold and rainy morning in Texas. As you can see, it's a lovely morning for a walk. I thought what better time than now to do my match thoughts and reviews from Everton. Luckily, I was not able to watch it live, which greatly helps my psyche and where I'm at now. Regretfully, I did watch it back this morning before this little walk. Disappointed would be a understatement. Funny enough, I think we were probably playing at the same level versus Wolves as we did versus Everton and ran across a better team. And they made us pay. I'm not going to call anybody out in particular because let's be honest, they were all poor. They were all poor. And if I keep looking around, it's because I'm making sure I don't run across any of the critters that have been spotted. It's just fun. Welcome to Texas. But yeah, overall poor. Overall very poor. The one thing that really stood out, and this is the one thing I'll say about the game, is, and we saw the same thing versus Wolves, we kept kicking the ball long, and that's not working. That's not working. The back line of Everton in particular just kept winning the ball back. And listen, I'm a novice, and I see that. Sean Dyche is an expert. You know, he's seeing it. So let's stop doing that, you know. But overall, I think where I'm at is I'm looking forward. I'm not looking at the Everton game. I'm going to call that a bad day at the office and move on. We're above the relegation. I understand, you know, Leeds jumped us. But I'm not actually too worried about Leeds. Hope that doesn't come back and bite me. So, but I think we're better than the 3 teams behind us and Leeds. So I think we're okay there. And more importantly, I think we have the manager to get us through a fight. To me, the question is, do we have the players that have the fight? So for better or worse, we'll find out the answer to those questions. Europa on Thursday. I know Paul and my boy Chris will be there. I'm still very optimistic about Europe. I think we have the players to do that, to be competitive in that, and possibly win that. So all eyes on Thursday night. I'm excited. We're still in the Europa. We're still in the Premier League. And despite that terrible game, the arrow is still pointing up for Nottingham Forest, guys. So let's not get down because of one performance. Come on, you Reds.
So Steve Bassamuch there, followed by Brucey in Texas. I've got one more to show you before we sign off, and we'll get on with that very quickly. But just one thing that sprang to mind, I quickly want to point out, is that Tarkovsky barge into the back of Ndoye that Dyche has highlighted. I'm shocked that nothing happened because of that. And now, yes, I'm biased, but that to me was just plain old thuggery. I mean, whether you hit someone with your shoulder or your chest or your elbow or your fist, if you're still going into the back of them when they're unsighted, it looked like he had a whiplash. I mean, he looked like he was seriously hurt. Are you surprised that nothing came of that with VAR?
Absolutely. I mean, definitely in regards to just getting a card, and then we know what the impact was later because he got another card, right? And we've all seen Tarkovsky. I mean, I think I used the word tough customer and that's putting it lightly, because he is kind of thuggish, and I think even I know he didn't go into these terms, but Dyche called it out, as you pointed out, and specifically named him as a situation that he didn't understand the outcome from. I know there's a couple of things. I know some people are frustrated because there's complaints, right? And there's a supposed complaint coming to the PGMOL, but absolutely, that should have at least been a yellow, because it was completely unnecessary. And I mean, you can't even talk about it in like the process of play, right? Like he did something that, you know, the timing wasn't right, and he took somebody's legs out, or did something from a foul standpoint, quote unquote, that, you know, was part of the passage of play. That was just flat out, like we'd say in the US, a punk move, right? Just for it was completely unnecessary. And the fact that he didn't get, there was no outcome, there was no, you know, consequence to that, was pretty poor.
Yeah, I think so as well. It was off the ball. It should have been looked at. You know, we're just going to chalk it down to one of those things again for Forest. All right, here comes Danscape.
Hello there. I've tried recording this once. My phone just froze. It's one of those days. Forest lose 3-0 to Everton. Look, I sort of thought we'd lose this game anyway. Tough place to go. It's just the manner of the defeat, isn't it? The manner of those first few minutes to go behind and just look so sloppy and slow. Take a while to get into the game. We had a couple of good spells, but yeah, you know, it has to come down to that question about the team selection and whether there was, I don't think it's tiredness, but, you know, it's that lack of sharpness to go straight into that game and be prepped for it and ready, and be, you know, just didn't have the time between games to really get some players up to speed with their jobs, maybe for their opponents and stuff. So that has to be the big question mark. Why not use the likes of Dominguez, who hasn't played as much over the last couple of games, and Hudson-Odoi hasn't played as much? Why not bring those guys in and just add a bit of energy? But also, I've worked with them in the week on the game plan and the tactics, whilst the other players are dealing with the Wolves game, for example. It's just, that's the questions I have as to why we didn't mix it up a bit more. Obviously, look, injuries are limiting us at the minute, and with Yatesy going off today as well, Sangari's off to AFCON soon. Central midfield suddenly becomes another worrying area. I think we have to sort of ask a few questions about all the injuries mounting up, and the big message about doing more running and more training and all that. But now we're seeing so many injuries, it's kind of like, is it just a case of doing that at the wrong time? Did we miss the boat on that, and we need to adapt the way we play rather than this is how we play? We've got to run and do all the effort. Maybe we need to manage it because we know we've got so many games coming up. But in terms of, anyway, back to this game, yeah, mistakes cost us. A couple of matchups that we lost throughout the game. A bit too long and direct against a team like Everton. Players kind of struggled with that. But we did control a couple of spells and we created a few chances and things. But, you only get a couple of mistakes that you can get away with in the Premier League. We've seen that a lot. Wolves the other night, just a poor team that will let you get away with more. Everton didn't today. And, I think we're all just mainly probably disappointed about the performance. I think a lot of us would have thought that the result might have gone their way anyway, but 3-0 looks bad. And on the back of the Wolves performance, it just adds up to sort of like, right, where's the progress in terms of what we do with the ball? So yeah, Utrecht, I suppose, will be a good opportunity to put that right. And hopefully we just need some of these players back from injury, or we need to be lining up a couple of fullbacks in the January window to quickly address the problems we've got in those positions in terms of depth. So, I'm probably as worried as I've been all season after that one, because Leeds have also got a good result. We're losing players to injuries, and we just don't seem to see the progress as a team. So hopefully I'm wrong, and we'll be happy again in a week's time.
Thank you very much to Bruce, to Ross, to Danscape, to Steve, to Raf, to Jamie for their video contributions. It is tough when you lose, Richard, as I've said. And so with all the games that are coming up, we need to bounce back quickly. Quick 30 seconds to close off, mate. Anything you want to say?
Yeah, surprisingly, the bounce back ability concept is what was in my mind this morning when I was thinking about what you say, Greg, and we've talked about that a lot last season in particular. So I feel like there's enough fortitude there to get through this. As we've said, Dyche goes through these stretches where he'll have really good runs of form, and then he'll kind of dip. The teams will dip a little bit, and they'll kind of get back to things a little bit. So I think with some rest, I think after the game against Spurs, maybe I think we have about an 8-game span where we don't, or 8-day span where we don't play, I think. So if that's the case, I think that's a good time to kind of regroup. Hopefully we can do it obviously before then. The good performance against Utrecht, good performance against against Spurs, but at home. So that'll be important to have the energy of the crowd behind us as well. That should help. So we'll see how that goes. But I tend to be a little bit more positive today than I was yesterday. It was pretty bleak in my mind. I mean, I was thinking, especially after Leeds drew against Liverpool, like, man, we are in serious jeopardy. But no, I think we'll be fine.
It's always better when you've had a chance to sleep on it a little bit. So I feel the same as well. Yesterday I was, just frustrated, annoyed, and all the rest of it. I see as well that the injuries and the amount of game time and the lack of recovery time, all those factors come into play. I'm not losing faith. Plenty to be positive about. It has felt like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or something like that. We did go to Wolves and get a win. I suppose if you say in many ways, sometimes you go away to teams and you pick up a point. That's only 2 points. We picked 3 points from 2 away games in the space of 2 or 3 days or whatever it was. So trying to be as positive as possible. Spurs at home next in the Premier League. I'll be up for that with Orlando, so I can't wait for that one. We got the Europa to look forward to in the week. There'll be rotation. There'll be McAtee getting a game and Bakra and hopefully, that Utrecht being where they are on the table, it will be a win that we can pick up on the road in that competition. Keep the faith, guys. Keep the faith, because this team needs us. They need your voices. There's been turmoil. There'll be more turmoil. but I think we'll be fine. This has been the Everton review. Thank you very much to all of our guys for chipping in. We'll see you soon.
Come join Greg and Richard right here on Talking Red.